You're shocked or surprised by any of the developments here that Trevor Bauer's extended leave has been, well, extended once again by another 10 days. I would just like to ask you what it's like on Mars, because clearly it's your first day here, or you're too young to really grasp this topic, and I would recommend probably turning this off because we use very colorful language here, and it's a very dark subject matter, and this shit is really fucked up. Anyways, Dodgers' Trevor Bauer has leave extended to July 27th. The extension pushes the pitcher's leave past a scheduled July 23rd hearing for an ex parte domestic violence restraining order filed in the LA County Superior Court. Yeah, I said that when we initially covered this stuff, and it just didn't make sense because the hearing was coming up. He was supposed to be off his initial extension this Friday, but it really didn't make sense with the hearing coming up, so I just was like, yeah, okay, it's going to get extended again, probably indefinitely, but yeah, they kind of set a date right now, but that's going to be the first hearing, and I'm not optimistic, mostly because Rob Manlett is a really shit officiator for Major League Baseball. So even if the evidence, and it's really looking that way, is overwhelmingly in support of what Trevor Bauer's all about, and figuring out that these claims by this money-hungry accuser are as fictitious as everybody thinks that they are, don't anticipate him being back for, oh my god, maybe the playoffs? Maybe the fucking playoffs. Major League Baseball and Players Union reportedly have agreed to extend Trevor Bauer's administrative leave a second time while investigations continue into the sexual assault allegations against the Dodgers pitcher. The second extension runs until July 27th, which pushes his leave past a scheduled July 23rd hearing for a domestic violence restraining order filed by a woman in LA County Superior Court. We don't know anything about this woman. I took a look at her representation and nothing really seems off about it, okay? The only thing that seems off are her claims. It just mostly looks like she's trying to wring out a fucking payday from this dude. And the entire situation, once you dig below the surface, it involves a bunch of other people, and it's weird. And it's weird because I got a tip from somebody who was very interested in this topic. And before we get into that, something else that people have been bringing up as well as these text messages that these two people, Bauer and his accuser, have exchanged are super sus. Incredibly sus. But yeah, just a little bit of a refresher because we went through some of the text messages in the initial video, but we're going to go into more of a deep depth with them here, and unfortunately read out all of them because it's just kind of degenerate talk, whatever. What people do in the comfort of their own home, in this case, a lot of preferred discomfort, whatever. What happens between people's sheets, I don't really care about. It doesn't affect me whatsoever, and you know what? You do you at the end of the day. I don't care where you stick, what you stick, who you stick. It's not important to me, shouldn't be important to anybody else. But if you do it with somebody who is the similar sex as you end up getting a fucking parade out of it. So this is the world that those idiots have cultivated, so we all just get to live in the aftermath. But yeah, just a little refresher course. Trevor Bauer has been accused by a woman of assault, but claims he is innocent. Purported text messages exchanged between the Los Angeles Dodgers pitcher and the accuser appeared to show a woman asking for Bauer to get physical with her and for him to give her pain. It's more graphic than that. Get the Kleenex ready, fellas. The text messages were allegedly between the first, April 21st, and the second, May 15th, sexual encounters between Bauer and the woman. They were sent to Larry Brown Sports by Bauer's representatives. Yes, the messages below, and we're going to click and enlarge on them, along with some of the dated timestamps in the exchanges of messages written in white. Allegedly come from the accuser. Bauer's alleged messages are written in blue, and again, it's something theoretically that can be easily manipulated, but the other side of the aisle hasn't denied any of this stuff going on, so where you go with this, your mileage may vary. But yeah, here's all this crap. Here's 100 noses kisses to make you feel better, and just know pink is so your color poppy. What the woman said. The woman said the stuff in the black bubbles, and Bauer's allegedly in the blue. Yeah, pink looks good on me, huh? And then sends a Jessica Alba gif or some shit. Whatever. Really compliments your vibes. Yes. Oh, it hits like that, huh? I just want them both suspended indefinitely for this conversation. The pink socks stay on while cuddling. Yes, ma'am, whatever you want. Butt off. When it's time to choke me out, thanks, you are the best. That escalated quickly. You want to go out, huh? See, that was a game changer. Play the game, brought to you by. Tell me more. Never been more turned on in my life. Give me all the pain. Rawr. Ugh. Really, when you were going out, or when you woke up? Going out, Lost a couple of brain cells on that one. Unfortunately, it continues. Now that I know what it feels like to wake up from it, though it'll probably feel just as good to wake up from that. You could have saved us all of this by just extending that unconscious period. God, you just turned me on so much. Ugh. Mission accomplished then. And then describing more degeneracy, I don't really care. Till we get a couple of slaps in there and another handprint on my ass, says the crazy bitch. Then for Poppy to tell me what else he wants. And it continues on from there, I guess, maybe, who knows. Then it looks like what could be the next day on Sunday, May 9th at either 6 or 8:30 p.m. Slaps in the face. Yeah! I can tell you right now, this bitch had a handsy uncle. And then allegedly Bauer texts back, Do you even know what pain is? And she sends a picture, I guess, that's blacked out. Okay, cool. So clearly she would have already had different wounds from another sexual encounter or a previous sexual encounter with Bauer. But this is pretty bog standard for her, except she's never been choked to the point of unconsciousness before, but she wants to try that, and that's already been put on the table, like she presumably wants to be. I don't get it, and I don't really care either way. This just sounds like what fucking weirdos like to do in their spare time. Whatever. Well, you'd have to be there. Well, you'd have to be here for me to show you. And then she replies, I'll be in LA Tuesday and Wednesday. So unimportant stuff and just little kind of, I guess, world building, if you want to look at it that way in this story. Yeah, they're just exchanging talking points on kind of a botched meetup, I suppose. And then, yeah, by the end of it, it just looks like they ended up setting up another date or whatever you want to call an S&M session. I don't know the terminology. Where it's like she's going to be the game on Friday and he's pitching Saturday the 13th. I guess that would have been the 16th. And he ended up pitching pretty decently. I just checked the record and stuff. So, yeah, and that's where everything just kind of wraps up. But, yeah, clearly they knew what was up. Had an agreement. They knew things were going to go up to the next level. Nothing really more to say. None of this seemed like she was pressured. This just kind of seemed like a normal, courtship for as much as you could say there was anything normal about this. But there are questions that are still out there, like, how did this woman get introduced to Bauer? Okay. And why does this seem to continue a pattern of a major star cashing in, moving to another city, and then just about immediately getting slapped with an erroneous charge? Okay. And then you just take a look at who else is involved with Bauer and kind of his greater sphere. And there are some questions that are out there. Okay, so you got to kind of walk this back and you kind of got to look at it from like a 30,000 foot view. And then you realize that, okay, so who's the representation for Bauer in this situation? I looked at him and no real leads to go on. And then you take a look at who else is representing him? Okay, so when you're a professional athlete, you need to have a certain team around you, a certain management team. So you got your lawyers, you got your accountants, and then you got your sports agents. So who's a sports agent? Well, somebody who he might have been romantically linked to, all when this shit was going on, just before it was going on, in fact. Rachel Luba, okay? Who is she? She's pretty fucking hot, actually. Good for Trevor, I suppose. So she's been tweeting in support of Bauer because obviously she still represents him and she was the one who landed him this gigantic contract, but she also has a link to somebody else as well, somebody else who is a lot more deviously connected. And this is where another lead came from, somebody else in the comments section. And I definitely appreciate this one because it makes a lot more sense, okay? And I might get a little bit conspiratorial because there's not a whole lot of threads that are here, but I think I can provide a decent enough case that this all stems from her other high-profile client in Yasiel Puig, okay? I remember hearing about this story. I remember hearing about a lot of this stuff going on behind the scenes, and I was a big Puig fan when he was playing with the Dodgers, and then of course he got slandered for being a little bit too verbose and a little bit too celebratory, and I didn't mind because it was all in celebration of the game. He wasn't trying to make himself bigger than the team. He was just out there trying to energize the crowd. He was trying to energize the team at the time that the Dodgers really needed it, okay? He was a really good defensive outfielder, okay? He had a cannon of an arm, and there's no reason he shouldn't be playing for some team right now whatsoever until you take a look at his past and how we got here and what he's also currently dealing with. But like I said, there's a link between Bauer and Yasiel Puig. Not even just the one that led to the two guys on opposite ends of a trade. They share the same agent, okay? So just keep a pin in that one for a minute. Yasiel Puig signs with Trevor Bauer's agent. Yasiel Puig has a new agent as he seeks for a job in 2021 season. Rachel Luba announced via Twitter Monday that she is now representing Puig. Luba is known for being the agent for Trevor Bauer. Her tweet here, baseball needs Puig. Love how you and Bauer outage are making baseball fun again. Welcome to Luba Sports. Puig and Bauer are actually a part of the same trade in 2019 that sent the outfielder to Cleveland and the pitcher to Cincinnati. Yes, there's a big, huge trade. I remember that at the time, and then I was also thinking, it's like, oh my god, these guys shared the exact same teams over and over again. Like, okay, Puig started out with the Dodgers, that's where Trevor Bauer's at right now, and then they ended up getting switched for each other after Puig got shipped off to Cincinnati, and then Cleveland ended up sucking a dick, and they weren't going to be able to re-sign Bauer, so they ended up flipping him because Cincinnati was in the hunt in 2019, and then Cleveland needed an outfielder because they still had a plethora of pitching talent out there, and it was the AL Central. Me and 8 of my friends could probably win that division, especially during that time. So they all played for the exact same teams, and they have the same management. And like it says here, Puig was supposed to sign with the Braves last season, but a positive COVID-19 test scuttled those plans, and he didn't end up playing at all last season. Puig turns 30 in December and is batted .267 with 24 home runs, 19 stolen bases in 2019. He comes with a somewhat of a warning, as he was dropped by his agency in 2018 off the back of just really baseless claims that, oh, he was hard to work with. Really? Really? Do you think somebody who escaped communist Cuba, okay, and went through human traffickers would be somewhat of a problem? You know what? If you caused any kind of a situation, you'd end up back there. We'll be talking about those human traffickers in a minute because it's really fucking weird when you take a look at more of their connections here. Because, yeah, Puig ended up running afoul of just some random sexual assault claim in March of this year. Weird how all this stuff is just kind of lining up together. Puig could miss out on 2021 season over sexual assault allegations. Yasiel Puig could remain an MLB free agent for as long as he remains under a cloud of suspicion stemming from a sexual assault complaint filed nearly 2 years after the alleged incident. Another one of these just baseless claims of somebody, oh, something happened potentially a couple of years ago that now I have regret over. And yeah, well over 2 years ago. Let's take a look. MLB interviewed the woman earlier this offseason. We all know how well MLB interviews end up going. It led to Robbie Alomar getting thrown out and depersoned by Major League Baseball on the basis of we don't know. We don't fucking know even word one about that situation. But the investigation is progressing slowly due to her desire to remain anonymous. Yeah, she's facing just so much psychological torture that she can't even put her name to this. You know what? She doesn't want to lend any credibility and any sort of urgency to these claims because, well, they're all fucking bogus. Enough with this. But yeah, she wants to remain anonymous and wait for further evidence to emerge in a lawsuit. That's why he filed a civil suit and not any criminal charges, right? You just want to be shaking him down because his new agent just got Trevor Bauer the richest contract per annual, okay? There are bigger contracts in totality out there. But per year over year, a 3-year contract for Trevor Bauer. You're just waiting for that payday to come across. You're just waiting for him to get signed by somebody so you can have a guaranteed stream of income, right? Yep. She alleges Puig pinned her down in the Staples Center bathroom, groped her, and masturbated in front of her in October 2018. What is this, Puig CK? The allegation and potential headache is at least one reason why Puig, 30, remains a free agent, because it's not his playing ability. He's 30 years old. He is a well above average contact hitter. He has power for days. He has name recognition. He has a cannon of an arm. There's no reason he shouldn't be playing. There's no reason he shouldn't be an all-star at this point. But like it says here, Puig denied the allegations and has not been charged with a crime. No police report was filed either. This is a shakedown. This is absolutely a shakedown. Puig's new agent, Rachel Luba, declined to comment on the lawsuit when contacted by The Athletic, but she added, just looking for an opportunity to play and be back in the game and remind baseball what he brings to it. I believe baseball is better with Puig in it, and I want him... Oh, and he wants to prove himself again because it's been a bit since he's been out there. Yeah. So what's all the evidence that's out there for this right now? Well, it's just as sus as the Bauer accusations. The alleged victim's attorney, Taylor Rayfield, who has made her name, this is at least one that I can bring up because they have a history, this Manley Stewart Finaldi lawyer group in Irvine, California. Weirdly enough, in the same jurisdiction of Pasadena, where the same investigations are happening for Bauer and all of that stuff as well. Just a weird coincidence, I'm sure. But she's partnered at this law firm, and she specializes in sexual assault, sexual harassment, online sexual harassment, and is a certifiable ambulance chaser. Like, she fleeced some company out of $2.6 million for a woman who was severely injured after being involved in a head-on collision after successfully convincing the jury that the employer was responsible. Shaking down a business because some bitch couldn't drive because she was on their dime, so therefore the company that allowed her to drive for them was liable for her injury. That's just another reason why you should never hire women. Anyways, but what else is this firm known for? Just getting to the bottom of the real important sexual abuse cases. They went after Larry Nassar, Michigan State University, who is a certifiable creep, but okay, fine. Roman Catholic bishop, sexual abuse cases, another church case, another couple of church cases, actually. School districts, just big 9 and 8-digit settlement cases because they're expert shakedown artists, okay? The church, like it or not, and we all know their demons, has a lot of money. And they can settle this stuff out quickly so they don't have to deal with it any longer. And that's what all these accusations are trying to get to the bottom of. But yeah, back to the story. The alleged victim's attorney, Taylor Rayfield, partner at the Shakedown Artists, said in a scathing statement Friday that the woman did not know Puig before the alleged encounter. Like, that's supposed to add credibility to this, or what? The defendant is a professional athlete who used his celebrity status to intimidate. No. She didn't know him beforehand, okay? So how would she know he's a celebrity? Asking. And intimidate, sexually assault a stranger. His brazen attack has caused emotional and psychological injuries to our client, which have severely impacted her life. The woman, still using the alias Jane Roe, to protect her identity. Why? Is she scared of Puig coming back for seconds, or what? You didn't know him beforehand. She probably doesn't even know you. You were just in proximity, and she thought, hey, guess what? There's probably a payday. Or she was sent down there. But we'll get to that shortly. MLB superstar Yasiel Puig is being sued by a woman accusing him of sexual battery at an NBA game back in 2018, according to court documents obtained by TMZ Sports. It's weird when TMZ Sports ends up doing some of the best sports coverage out there because the rest of them are just openly partisan, and at least they have real sources at these places and just aren't bouncing their information off of one another in order to say sources say. The woman behind the lawsuit is using pseudonym Jane Roe to protect her identity, but claims Puig assaulted her at the Staples Center on August 31st, 2018. I would just about bet money that Puig has no idea who this is. No idea. And this happened on fucking Halloween in 2018, and she didn't bring this up until March of 2021. All right. In the documents, the woman alleged she was forced into a bathroom and Yasiel Puig grabbed and were trying to take her clothes off. This was at a Lakers game in 2018. I know they weren't necessarily playing some of their best basketball out there, but this is the Staples Center and this is the Los Angeles Lakers. This is a busy fucking place. I'm just saying, wouldn't be that easy to pull off. But yeah, trying to take her clothes off, touch her sexual organs during the struggle, and pinned her with one arm and used his other to stroke his own penis, exposing himself and eventually just spurting on her skirt, or somewhere, who knows. The woman says in her lawsuit she was simply heading to the bathroom and did not go into the restroom with an intention of having a sexual encounter with Puig. In her lawsuit, the woman does not say whether she went to law enforcement after the alleged incident. Turns out that she didn't. Of course she didn't, because none of this happened. The date of the alleged assault correlates with the Lakers and Dallas Mavericks game at Staples Center, and there are pics of Puig sitting courtside at the game. But just lock him up then. He was at the game, obviously. And clearly he would have had his penis in possession at the time, so yeah, obviously he did all this stuff. The woman is suing, not seeking actual justice, for sexual battery, assault, intentional infliction of emotional distress, negligence, and false imprisonment, and my glasses fell off and I was emotionally scarred. The woman does not specify the exact amount she is asking for, but notes it's more than $50,000. It'll be in the 7 or 8 digits, you goddamn well guarantee. But this case hasn't moved anywhere, and it's unlikely to move anywhere, other than through just absolute and sheer dismissal, because there's nothing there to really prosecute. It's just all allegations. It's even more flimsy than the one that's against Bauer right now. But why did I give you all the backstory on this one? Well, we've seen all the different connections. And then I also made reference to the fact that Puig came over from Cuba, right? Puig came over and told his tale to ESPN back when they were at least watchable and at least decent, that he had to go through different human smuggling entities, different human traffickers. And they weren't satisfied with how much money they made. Maybe because they didn't know the commodity that they had at the time. Maybe they thought they were a little bit more entitled to some of the money and fame and notoriety that Puig was amassing at the time. And maybe they did something like, vow to get to the bottom of this and make sure that either his life was ruined or they were going to get their fucking money. Puig was subjected to threats and a lawsuit. LA Dodgers outfielder Yasiel Puig has received threats from human traffickers who orchestrated his 2012 defection from Cuba to Mexico, according to a 5-month ESPN The Magazine investigation, which uncovers new details about Puig's harrowing escape from Cuba and the complexities of the illegal human trafficking rings that continue to shuttle Major League prospects off the island. The magazine's report, written by Scott Eden and posted online Thursday, also explores a civil lawsuit filed in the federal court that accuses Puig of wrongfully accusing a man of attempting to set up a defection. The suit was reported by Los Angeles Magazine earlier this week. This article is from 2014 or 2012, I think. Anyways, I think it's from 2014. Anyways, much of the information came through interviews with more than 80 sources, in addition to court documents in the civil suits filed against Puig and fellow Cuban Aroldis Chapman, who pitches and went through the same traffickers that Yasiel Puig did. The same rings. I'm not too sure if it's the same people. But something happened to Aroldis Chapman as well, just after he signed a big contract with the New York Yankees and then ended up catching some fucking heat for it as well. I remember this story. It seemed a little sus at the time. Came out to be completely sus. Yankees closer Aroldis Chapman became the first player to be penalized under Major League Baseball's new joint domestic violence, sexual assault, and child abuse policy, with Tuesday's announcement that he has been suspended for 30 regular season games. Chapman, who said last month he would appeal any suspension, has agreed to the punishment. He will now be allowed to continue working out with the team in spring training and will be eligible to play in Grapefruit League games. Barring postponements, Chapman will be eligible to play May 9th at Yankee Stadium against the Royals a long time ago. Chapman will lose approximately $1.7 million in salary, and he will accrue enough Major League service time to become a free agent at season's end. Had the suspension been for 46 more games, would have delayed his free agency and denied him the necessary service time. Chapman allegedly choked his 22-year-old girlfriend, Christina Barrena, and fired 8 shots into the garage of his Davie, Florida home. On January 21st, prosecutors announced that they had decided not to prosecute the hard-throwing left-hander, citing conflicting accounts and insufficient evidence that would have made a conviction unlikely. Imagine that. Imagine that. Somebody who just came up from pitching with the Cincinnati Reds, another link all three of these men share. Significant amount of money has been lost. At the time, a reputation was tarnished, and this was the year, of course, that Chapman got traded to the Cubs, and then the Cubs ended up sending back a prospect or two that are currently on the Yankees rotation, and they're starting 9, and Chapman ended up cashing in after that. But they tried to get penance against Chapman with these egregious claims before. I'm just saying that there's a pattern here. There's a pattern here. Because the people doing the human trafficking got stiffed the first time, and they weren't satisfied with the amount of money that they got beforehand. So they ended up vowing that they would get paid, or they would be taking down everybody associated with them. Reporting by ESPN's The Magazine included exclusive conversation with childhood friend of Puig's, Junior Despange, who was with Puig throughout his escape journey, and first-hand accounts shed new light on Puig's 5th and ultimately successful attempt to defect. Puig issued a statement Wednesday. The report says Truck from Cuban said, "I was unaware of recent articles and news accounts. I understand that people are curious and have questions, but I will have no comment on the subject. I'm represented on this matter, and I'm focused on bringing a productive teammate and helping the Dodgers win games." Puig had previously not talked publicly about his defection, other than to say there would be a movie based on it someday. Obviously, that's what you say. You know, you're in the bright lights of Los Angeles. Major League Baseball issued its own statement Wednesday, saying the safety and security of everyone involved in the sport is of paramount importance to Major League Baseball, MLB, and its clubs have individual and resources in place to provide appropriate security, but as a matter of policy cannot comment on such measures that have been taken without potentially compromising those efforts. According to Despange's accounts, the future Dodgers right-hander was in physical danger numerous times, diving into dark waters to evade Cuban authorities, hiking through crocodile-infested mangrove swamps, and being held captive on an island near Cancun, Mexico. Puig and 3 other defectors, including Despange, spent several weeks in a guarded apartment on Isla Mujeres, just off the coast of Cancun. The trafficking ring that delivered him from Cuba to Mexico was headed by an escaped felony suspect wanted by U.S. authorities, sources told the magazine. The group was awaiting payment from a Miami middleman who arranged the escape, but when that payment was slow in coming, things escalated, sources say. In the Los Angeles magazine story, Despange said if they didn't receive the money, they were saying that at any moment they might give him a machetezo, a whack with a machete, chop off an arm, a finger, whatever, and he would never play baseball again, not for anyone. See where we're going here. However, a rival ring executed a successful late-night plan to steal Puig and get him to Mexico City, sources told the magazine. Once there, Puig was granted residency status in weeks, and after his auditions from scouts for several teams, Puig's agent at the time, Jamie Torres, announced that the slugger had signed with the Dodgers for $42 million. Upon receiving a signing bonus, Puig allegedly paid 20% of his contract value to the Florida group that ultimately brought him to the United States in July of 2012. After arriving, Puig joined the Dodgers farm system and, absolutely blew up from there. ESPN's The Magazine learned from a source close to the smuggler involved in the episode that during the time, at least one person affiliated with the Mexican-based smugglers who initially got Puig out of Cuba showed up at the Dodgers team hotel and demanded Puig pay the money they felt they were still owed. There it is. Prior to that, a member of the same ring was shot to death on the side of the road in Cancun. It's just a standard day in Cancun, I suppose. Later, a member of the rival group that stole Puig away was allegedly abducted, but later released. Oh good, all great stories have a wonderful end to them. Puig has been sued for $12 million in Florida in an action that alleges his wrongfully accused a man of attempting to set up a prior defection. The plaintiff, a Cuban citizen, was sentenced to 7 years in jail as a result of a Puig testimony. The suit was filed in the United States under the Torture Victims Prosecution Act, a piece of legislation signed by HW in 1992. In a case similar to Puig's, a Florida family sought $18 million from Chapman. Neither Puig nor Chapman has yet to be found liable. The Chapman case is scheduled for trial on November 17th. It ended up not going anywhere. The judge in Puig's suit is deliberating a second motion to dismiss. And then it was end up getting tossed out at the same time. But what you had here is human trafficking groups running afoul of each other, and then also the people that they were defecting, okay? Oh, they helped these star people get off this horrific island, and they felt that, they were entitled to the fruits of their labor in this situation. And you know about the brutality of these human trafficking rings. I need not elaborate too much further on that. But these are the type of people who, if you run afoul of the group, they don't just kill you. They kill your family. They kill anybody close to you, just to set an example so a situation like that doesn't happen again. So now, they didn't end up getting their money through any of these lawsuits, okay? They didn't get any of their money through their different extortion attempts. So, not long after that, little altercations, little interactions started to happen, and it didn't start to manifest for Puig until early 2011, okay? They were unsuccessful with Aroldis Chapman, but something similarly as baseless ended up happening there. And then Puig, okay, yeah, he's in line to be getting a big payday from somebody who just got somebody a payday. So guess what? You go after that other guy too, because guess what? He's in that same circle. Just like a family-esque situation. I'm not saying this is true, but I'm just saying that the parallels are being drawn here. And we're going to have some more concrete information for Trevor Bauer on the 23rd. I'll be interested to see. I mostly think this is all going to fizzle out just like what happened with Puig the first time around, and then what's most likely going to happen again. And then the same thing with Chapman. I just look at it as the damage has already been done with Bauer, and it sucks because that dude is super special when it comes to quantifying talent on the mound. But we'll see where this goes. We'll see where this goes, especially when it comes to Bauer's situation. I just found this very, very interesting, and it looks like there are some threads out there. I'm not saying I totally believe it. I'm just saying that there are things out there to really consider going forward. With that said, I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.